Hey guys, welcome back to the Lou Perez podcast on the Lions of Liberty Podcast Network. I am your host, Lou Perez, and I am joined today by author, video essayist, Rian Stone. Rian has two novels out right now, Softbone and Dog Walker, and you can check out his video essays over on YouTube at Orion2, I believe. Rian, thanks for joining me.
Dude, thanks for having me. Honestly, ever since that match where you and Rick Rude had that one real slap fight, I've been like a huge fan of your work.
You know, it's amazing that you're such a fan of my wrestling work that you have no idea looking at me right now that I am not Lightning Lou Perez. So.
But I was wondering about that. You look so young for your age.
Right?
I think, what would he be? He'd really be like, what, 70, 80 by now?
Something like that. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who haven't Googled me, because you're like, why do I need to Google Lou Perez? I follow him all the time. There's no reason for me to Google him. If you Google me, somewhere in there, whether it's, I think it's in the copy, it says like Lou Perez. It might say that I'm a comedian, but it also says that at one point I was a professional wrestler. And at some point, this 5'10", 165-pound weakling was like 6'3", 250 pounds, and used to, fuck dudes up in the wrestling ring. So poor Ryan, when I invited him onto my podcast, he was so excited that he was finally going to get to talk to a real life wrestler and finally get some, have me shoot, I guess, on all the stuff that I would do in the ring, in and out. And I'm sorry, I'm not that guy, bro.
You know, the worst part is you embarrassed me. I actually talk every now and again to Brian Kilmeade Jr. I guess he's Lexus King now. And he had no idea what I was talking about with you. So he hasn't returned my calls in the last month now, which is kind of annoying, but whatever.
I wish I knew the reference too.
Oh, Brian Kilmeade? Yeah, he was a WCW wrestler, and his son now is wrestling. Just got his contract on the WWE.
Wow. I think I got out of wrestling really early on. I think I must
pre-attitude.
Yeah, pre-attitude. I think what if I think about the match that was probably most memorable, it was like Hulk Hogan against Ultimate Warrior, and I think it went on
WrestleMania 6 main event.
Yeah, and it went on for like a half hour, and then at the end they hugged, which I thought was just incredible as a kid. You know?
Okay, I love stories. This one was my favorite story. It's my favorite WrestleMania. I still watch it. They just put it up on YouTube to watch it. It was the first ever hero versus hero main event. And everybody thinks that was when Andre was fighting Hogan, but they actually switched Andre to a heel.
Right.
So this one, it was truly and it was like who was rooting for who, they had no idea. And it was the first time you saw somebody get pinned clean, and afterwards they became friends. It was it was a real game. It was kind of the opposite of when you got out, was probably when Hollywood Hogan did his little heel turn. Because it's like America dying.
Yeah, and I look back.
So it's the opposite of that.
Yeah, I watched the Vince McMahon documentary series on Netflix, and it was so surprising because I'm like, wow, it almost feels like I didn't live through that era because I wasn't watching that. So I had no idea of just how fucking dirty, wrestling was. It was basically, I mean, in a way, kind of like softcore porn, to some extent. And I missed all that. And now I'm thinking, I was such a horny kid. I would have loved, being able to watch, chicks with huge fake titties, in lingerie fighting each other. So
the fabulous Moolah wouldn't have done it for you? You'll look it up later and you'll laugh your ass off.
Watch. I'm going to look it up later, and it's just going to be Lou Perez was the fabulous Moolah or something like that.
No, she was the famous one. Her and Elizabeth, I think, were the two chicks they knew back then. Anyways, I don't want to hijack your podcast to just talk about 80s and 90s wrestling. I feel like I would do you a disservice.
No. Well, I mean, recently, we had the passing of Hulk Hogan, and it's still relatively new. I don't even think he's been gone for a month. And so when I saw kind of the online discussion that was happening, it seemed as though there was so many people out there who seem to think the only thing that will be remembered about Hulk Hogan is that he said the N-word a few times. Like that. That's the only thing. As if as if the reason why so many young Americans and kids from around the world and Canada as well grew up to love this guy was because he said the N-word in reference to like his wife fucking some guys.
Oh, these people are ridiculous. And I get it. The whole like cancel culture's gone, woke thing, and Trump's here. Great, great, great. I get it. They got nothing going on, and so they latch onto this identity, and this is their like whole thing. So that's all they talk about. They're a very loud, vocal minority of people. And that's the problem is they make so much noise that we don't notice it's like anything in the world. You can have 8 billion people. So a 1 in a million event, there's 8,000 of them. You could show them off every day and you can totally warp somebody's worldview. And I think that's what we got right now. And unfortunately, you can't throw commies out of helicopters anymore. So I don't know what to do with this other than just laugh at them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of throwing commies out of helicopters, one of the videos that you have on your site on YouTube, it's in regards to it's in regards to ski school. And it's like I think you wrote something like ski school. Look what the woke communists took from us.
Yeah, that's the gimmick. I love that one. Yeah. It's because so I was doing this channel because I was writing these books, and then obviously, like I've been writing nonfiction for a while, so I switched over to writing fiction. And you got to learn, okay, so what is good storytelling? I think I know, but it's always good to get some training. And then a lot of it kind of led me down that, which is the whole reason why the Orion channel started. And I loved it for a gimmick because I saw who are the good movie guys right now. There was, I mean, Razor Fist used to have some awesome ones back in the day, if you remember his. And
I know Razor. I mostly know him from just following him on. Or just seeing him pop up on like X.
Yeah, he does politics and that now, but his old movie stuff was pretty good. And Red Letter Media, obviously. And I realized most people, other than those two, they don't like things. They love to hate movies. They love to clown on movies. I don't think they actually enjoy good storytelling. And even when they do see a good one, they have to wrap it in irony. And I just hated that. But then I can't just be sitting here, waxing prophetically about it. And I got 13 years in the military, and I'm like, going after commies would be so easy because, like, do you ever hear that joke? How do you know if there's a communist in the room? Like, don't worry, he'll tell you. Yeah. So I was like, this will be perfect. Rag on the commies every time I do it because it's like a lot of it's 80s Americana stuff anyway, so we hated the commies back then. And then, of course, sure as shit, every video, one guy has this 3-page essay about how I don't understand communism. And I'm like, thanks for the free marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 80s, I mean it seemed like kind of a bipartisan thing. Yeah. That, like if you're a Democrat or a Republican, it's like, no, we're against the communists. I mean, I understand like, in the early, during quote unquote the Red Scare and all that, there were, quite a few actual communists. That's the thing they don't tell you about the Red Scare is that no, they were actually yeah, they were right. They were actual communists. McCarthy actually was right, especially when you talk about Hollywood. Dalton Trumbo was a card-carrying fucking Stalinist. This guy, big peace guy, about World War I and all that. Yeah, I mean he likes Stalin.
Full-fledged communists. It just blows your mind when you think about it. And you think about all those talented people that probably lost their careers, like not the communist side, but they were kind of blacklisting people. And I think you see some of that now. But that's that weird champagne socialism stuff now, like the Sarah Silverman stuff. It's not real communism, which kind of sucks because it's really easy to hate real communism. This fake communism makes you just feel dirty. At least it makes me feel dirty.
It makes you feel dirty, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're a Sarah Silverman fan or not, so I don't want to besmirch.
I've liked her stuff. I've liked some of her stuff, in the past. She does seem like I definitely don't like her
new special.
When I haven't seen the new special, but I don't like when artists start apologizing for their past work.
Oh.
I'm not a fan of that. Or I'm not a fan of. It's one thing to be like, yeah, I did it back in the day, and I wouldn't do it again. So I'd probably say, yeah, maybe other comics shouldn't do it, but if you do it, I'm okay with it. It's another thing to kind of be like a scold,
Yeah. They pull the ladder up from underneath them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I do distinctly remember her doing like blackface, and now, like, what did they do to her now? Her new special, and I'm not like, whatever. If you like her, you like her. If you don't, you don't. But there was a 20-minute break in the middle of the special where she just starts having a wake for her father who just died. And I'm like, this is the worst jokes I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
They're not even funny. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, it's comedy. What are you doing, woman? But at the same time, she's doing all this, like you said, I think, what'd you call it? Woke scolding?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a new generation of talent that no longer has that avenue to be edgy and acerbic and taboo to be able to make it up. So all she's doing is just securing her role. And I almost want to think it's like a subconscious professional insecurity that a lot of the higher up talent does right now in order to keep newcomers from finding that same path, which bothers me even more. That's such like a boomer coded attitude, you know?
Well, I wonder, there's something special about comedy in particular stand-up comedy when compared to like other art forms, in that, like if you compare like a comedian to an athlete, right? You know, an athlete has such a small window as far as when they can play, especially when they can play professionally, right? And it's like, and once you're out of that window, once you hit, say 30 something, like you're done, your career's over. But comedy, I mean, you can keep going on and on and on. I mean, some of the biggest comedians, when you look around, like some of the most successful ones are like in their 50s, and it's like they've hit like a new streak. And I think there might be something to, if Sarah Silverman wanting to still be doing comedy and wanting to,
just be funny.
Yeah, just be funny. I don't know. Well, what's the thing too? I don't even think it's like a cynical move or like a ploy or anything like that. I think she probably genuinely believes what she believes, and for whatever reason, it has affected her in the way that it has, and she's trying to adapt with it. Where I feel like I know a lot of, I know other comedians, or at least I've heard stories where like they might be kind of raging lefties, but they're still able to separate the art that they're making from the politics and still try to make funny stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Like now you're getting into the competence crisis, because I always laugh where you see all these talking head raging lunatics talking about what the woke took from us and all that stuff. And I remember Deep Space, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine was probably the most progressive thing on TV. People forget. You go watch it now. It's amazing. The Troon character, progressive things. There was one thing where Cisco had to he didn't want to do a holodeck heist Ocean's 11 thing because black people weren't welcome in Vegas in the 40s. But then they talk him out of it and it's like very prophetic about the stuff we see now. But the difference is it was well written, so we liked it. Long Kiss Goodnight, one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. What is that? It's a Mary Sue character. She's a soccer mom who turns out she was a forgetful assassin and then just starts murdering CIA agents. But you watch like Ray, and it's like, this is annoying. Why'd they kill Star Wars? I don't think it's ideology or anything. I think it's just competence. Which is what hurts about comedians. 'Cause I love watching. Like I used to watch Bill Burr every year when he'd come when I lived in Montreal. I'd watch him every year, and then 6 months later his Netflix special would come out, and I'd like enjoy just watching how he fine-tune a special and stuff like that. So I know they can do it, but they're just not doing it. So somewhere in there, the what's the word I'm looking for? The incentives, they're just gone. Like there's something perverse about it.
Yeah, one of my highlights as a comedian was I was living in Los Angeles. I had a friend, Maria Shahada, was her name, a comedian, and she used to perform at she would travel all over the world. She would do like USO shows and stuff like that. And she had done like a show that I'd put on, and she, called me up one day and asked me if I would host a show. And, if someone asks you to host a show, especially when you're, relatively new, starting out, it's a huge compliment. And then she told me Bill Burr is going to be, on it. He's going to be, he's going to be like basically the headliner, so that was just like a huge, ego boost, but also I was like, man, what an amazing opportunity.
And was this before or after the Philly event?
Oh, this was after the Philly event. Yeah.
Oh, so he's topping. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. He was coming out with a Netflix special, and all of that. And, I got to, do my set, and I got to bring up, Burr and watch him. He was working. What was the one bit he was doing? It was a great bit about how meaningless or useless first ladies are. It's like, and the idea that if you hire a plumber and then his wife shows up, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Like,
Yeah.
um,
Didn't throw a touchdown, still gets all the glory.
Yeah,
I remember that bit.
Yeah, so it was really great, watching him work, and then seeing him live at like the Comedy Store the night that Trump won back in 2015, and him basically just owning the entire dais. It was him for I think 4 hours, just funny and clever and insightful and all that. So, fast forward to where we are today, and I think for me the most the disappointing thing about him is that at least when it comes to his commentary on what's happening, I'm like, it's very unoriginal and uninteresting, and kind of hack. And I'm like,
it's thin.
Man, yeah, it's very thin. And I'm like, damn, man, I would I kind of hold you up to a much higher standard, because I still what I hate too is the people who look. You can disagree with Burr, where he is now and politics and all that, but you can't deny that he's one of the greatest stand-ups definitely living today. He's the guy's a monster. He's just phenomenal. But yeah, there's something there. I really don't understand the changes that can kind of undergo that some of the greats can undergo. And maybe one day I'll get there and I'll be the change that I don't want to see. And,
dude, the day you sell out, that would be awesome.
Fucking amazing. It'd be great.
Just leave some what do they call those things where they're not allowed to, like an NDA, so you put a canary in your terms of service or something, so you remove it. Like you'll always have in your thing, I have never done any work for the CIA, and then one day you get hired as a glowy, and then you just take that statement out of your thing, so you didn't actually admit it, but people kind of know.
What's a glowy?
You just do that. A glowy, like a federal agent, like CIA. If you're gonna do any spook work or anything like that.
Damn, I've never been approached, which is something that someone in the CIA would say. But yeah, I don't know what kind of insight, what kind of material I could actually get, for the CIA. How helpful I could be.
I'm sure they got tons of jokes for you.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, because I was not a big part of that thing. I was 13 years in the military. I worked as a communicator, so it's a bit of it. And then I think I actually have it right there. That's my certification from CSIS, the Canadian version of the Canadian CIA. It might be the Canadian NSA for harmonized threat and risk assessment. So we had small ties to it. So it's a very interesting realm. But when we hear the stories of what you guys in America have, holy geez, hiring kids out of high school to work for this, that, and the other thing to do stuff. I don't know. I just think it would be awesome if I hear they pay really well. And they give you everything to talk about. It'd be a perfect career. All you have to do is put some wink to your audience saying, hey, just so you know, I've sold out. I'm going to retire in the Hamptons. Good luck. Here's my old material if you need it,
Well, when you start hearing stories about like Jackson Pollock and how his whole career was basically a psyop, where it's like the government said, okay, we're going to fund you and we're going to use this as a way to trip the Soviets up. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant.
4 years of art history. Not once did they mention that, by the way.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out.
Oh, and you would think too, with such with the Marxist influence of universities, that they would be, they would love to point out all this shit, and love to say well, actually, Jackson Pollock, blah blah blah. My wife is a trained dancer. I make the joke that when I say my wife's a dancer, she's not a stripper, because strippers make money. My wife is the kind of dancer that doesn't
interpretive. Got it.
Yeah, they do it for the art.
I didn't want to ask. It seemed rude to be here as your guest and ask.
You're like, Lou, so where does your wife dance now? But so my wife, thanks to her, she got me into going to see dance and going to see modern dance and ballet and all that, and I become a big fan. We look for opportunities to go anytime that we can. And some years back, there was a woman had written a book about a very famous dancer choreographer named Martha Graham. Mm-hmm. And the book was basically about the relationship between Martha Graham and the U.S. government, during the Cold War, and how the government was, using Martha Graham as a vehicle to fight against the Russians on a cultural level. So they would fund a lot of the trips that they would make to like Moscow and stuff to do, show dance and dance performances and that sort of thing, which I thought was just fucking awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. It's like you wouldn't think about that, because I think so much of, at least me, and look, I'm a civilian, when I think about, war, I think of like, either on the battlefield or now drones, or I'm thinking about hacking and, and that sort of thing. But thinking about, using culture as a weapon is just so freaking, it's such a powerful tool. And
like wetware spy work here. There's a tracker in your heel. If they kidnap you, just click your heels 3 times or something. Here's an umbrella with like a needle in it. Don't touch it. It kills you.
Yeah.
All that stuff would be awesome.
So one of my guests from an earlier episode named Gabby Blanco, she's from Cuba originally, and she was able to defect from Cuba, I think like 10 years ago. And one of the things I talked to her about was, one of the reasons why I wish that the U.S. would lift the embargoes, because I would love Cubans to just see the stuff that you can get over here, and how far that would go.
What is that photo? It was it Khrushchev when they brought him to the States and to Texas? Right? Yeah, that was totally what happened. Yep. But isn't that what a lot of the socialist and communist places kind of do now? They just realize that, like, North Korea will not let you see Western media. Canada is trying to block a lot of American media now, because we're basically speedrunning Venezuela at this point. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah. Well, the North Koreans, I mean, they get to see, they start asking questions for the North Koreans who are allowed to go to China, and it's like, they see, how much food the people in China are eating, versus North Korea. So, I think that cultural stuff goes a long way. And I mean, getting back to, a lot of the video essays that you have, talking about the 80s and 90s, just getting back to like fun, enjoyable entertainment. Yeah. And
that's what I loved, because when like you look into a lot of these videos, like Ski School, that one was mostly just a labor of love. It's like a core group of guys that did it. So that one's a bit jocular, but there's other ones like I Come in Peace, the old Dolph Lundgren video. I don't know if you ever remember that one.
No.
It's like a buddy cop movie with Dolph Lundgren and Brian Ben from Dream On, which is like, it was going to be a gimmick for a while. You remember Dream On? Yeah. I used to watch that all the time as a kid on our parents' 12-foot satellite dish with the red card. But the guy who worked on that was like a cinematographer for the guys who worked on like Citizen Kane and stuff like that.
Wow.
So like all these guys went to World War II. They came back and they became film guys. Old cops, old retired, millwrights. I think Charles Bronson used to work in a coal mine. And so you get these guys, and then they were like extremely competent. And then the group of people that they trained or were journeymen under them were the guys that made all of the 80s and early 90s movies we liked. Like, and that's the sad thing, because you watch it now. Star Wars, the people who made the original Star Wars were raised on samurai flicks, World War II, and were trained in like the mines. And then the new Star Wars people were raised on Star Wars. And we end up with this disgraced propagandist, a guy I did a podcast with too. He talks at deep fried culture, which he's totally right. It's a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy.
Oh, Isaac Simpson?
Yeah.
I had a great talk with Isaac.
He needs to smile more, but he's a good guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not everyone. Look at. I mean, you got a beautiful smile there, Ryan. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy. I get to wear Hawaiian shirts to work.
Right.
I don't have to give a fuck anymore. I'm happy.
Well, talking about Ski School, my good friend is Dean Cameron.
What?
He was in Ski School. Yeah, he was in Ski School. People know him as Chainsaw from Summer School.
Yeah. And that was where I first knew him from. Yeah,
and he's Dean. Dean's a great guy, great friend. One of the wildest things about him, and wild is just something that's kind of eerie, is that he's obviously grown up. He's aged. He sounds the exact same way he sounded when he was in those movies. Like his voice hasn't changed. So I would love for them to bring those movies back in some capacity, and to do it
properly.
Yeah, to do it properly. Like I don't know. Have you seen the remake of the reboot, The Naked Gun. Have you guys?
Nope.
No,
not doing it.
So here's my pitch. So I wrote a review on it, and I was put in a very difficult position because two of my friends wrote it and co-produced it. And my buddy Dan Greger and Doug Mand, who I started doing comedy with back in college, over 20 years ago. They co-wrote it, co-produced it, and Greger was having a meetup at the AMC movie theater in Times Square to see it. And I was thinking I think everybody damn man, you're doing a reboot and you're rebooting The Naked Gun, holy shit, there's no way this is going to be good. And I went to go see it. I selected a seat that was kind of very far away from everybody, just so no one could see if my expressions are like that.
Yeah.
Before the movie starts, Gregor's like, "Lou, come here." He had a seat. He had a seat for me right next to him in the.
This
theater.
has the vibe of when they're like, "Oh, we're showing our family vacation photos. Come on over."
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Or it could have been here's a murder scene or something like that I need to watch. And I will say I was worried going into it. It's really fucking funny, laugh out loud funny. They did a really, really good job with it. And even afterwards, there were a number of people who were just in the movie theater, coming up to him and just saying thank you so much. That was I grew up watching The Naked Gun and Police Squad, and you guys did such a great job. And there was older people, there were younger teenagers saying how funny it was. And
they finally nailed it, huh?
Yeah, they nailed it. And of course, look, you can't recreate Leslie Nielsen, right? I mean, he's just brilliant and perfect where he was. But Liam Neeson is Liam Neeson in it. He does a really good job, and Pamela Anderson too. And there's a lot of stuff there where you'll there's a lot of jokes there and a lot of lines that I think people will be repeating. Which I think is a sign of a good thing. So I'll say this: if you don't enjoy it, I'm sorry, but I was about to say, hey Ryan, if you don't enjoy it, I will pay for your ticket. And then I'm like, nah, we don't know each other that well. I don't have to.
Yeah, no, we're not there yet.
But no,
just take a strange flight from a man like those girls on Instagram. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
He wants to take a dump on my what? I didn't like the movie that much. No, I mean, to be fair, it could, there's been a few movies I don't watch. That's my catch line on all my Orion stuff is I don't watch new movies anymore. I'm tired and old. Occasionally they've gotten through. Barbie, deceptively good. My girl wanted to go see it because she had Barbies growing up, and I walked in there miserable, and it was funny because she's happy and I'm miserable, and then by the halfway mark, I'm happy and leaning in, and she's miserable and leaning back. It reminded me of RoboCop, where it had its surface level thing, but then it was just genius underneath. I call it the German existentialist rock opera of our generation.
My wife loved it. I have to see it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if you just watch it on its own terms, don't try to watch it thinking about Barbie, or don't think of the character's this. No, you just watch it as if you didn't know anything about anything. You can kind of enjoy it, especially if you got a little bit of cynicism in your heart. Like I said, it's got that RoboCop thing where you can't tell if it's satire based on the guy who hates something but implemented it poorly, or satire based on something that he loves and is on point. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's a whole enjoyment of it that I can't even.
Yeah.
So if Naked Gun pulls that off, I'll shit on your chest anytime, man. I promise.
Thank you. Oh God, no. But I appreciate. You think I'm into that?
And,
okay.
Can you compliment Dean? Give him a compliment for me.
Sure.
Because Ski School, it wasn't a big budget. It didn't make a lot, at least not in the movie theaters. I think it did well on the back end. I don't think he gets enough credit for one of the most clever scripts I've ever seen in a movie. And it took me 3 watches to figure it out too. Because you watch it, you think it's just a standard summer camp movie. You got titties in there. It's like Police Academy, whatever. But I remember it was on my 3rd watch through, when I was just looking at every line for the research in the movie, where he just tells you guys, he's like, hey, just so you know, Chad, I got a convoluted plan that's going to sort all this stuff. And he basically describes the movie in the first 30 seconds and you miss it for the first two watches till finally I'm like, oh my God, he's telling you exactly what's going to happen in the movie. Like he's some kind of trickster god, like it's Loki. And then he pulls everything through. And then at the end, when he has Chick in the hot tub and he raises his glass and he winks at the camera doing the fourth wall thing, I'm like, oh, that's fucking brilliant. He tricked me. I'm there thinking, like, how are they going to get through this? Why? And I was like, it's such bad acting. He's like, everybody's freaking out. They're going to lose their job and they're losing the ski school. And he doesn't care. Like, what is this? And then I realized, oh, of course he doesn't care. He had this whole thing planned from the beginning. And he even told you it was convoluted. So it's like, that makes no sense. He goes, yeah, he told you it was not going to make any sense. It was all so purposeful. And I don't get surprised much by movies. And I'm very surprised that like a early 90s indie budget cult movie was the one to pull it off. I'm just baffled, like pleasantly baffled, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I got to go back and watch that. I think I think we're similar in that I haven't been watching that much new stuff. I kind of prefer to watch, well, at least when it comes to movies. Like I like watching new documentaries and docuseries and that sort of thing. But when it comes to movies, I like going back. And my wife used to make fun of me because it was like, if I wanted to watch a movie, it would have to be from like 1974. I was on a big like 1974, 1976 kick for a while. And then last night,
Easy Rider and Rolling Thunder back to back, baby.
Back to back. I watched this might sound weird, but I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with my 5-year-old and my 3 and my almost 4-year-old.
No, that's perfect.
And they loved it. And because there's so little dialogue, and also the music is so great. It's shot beautifully. Clint Eastwood is, you get it. You understand why Clint Eastwood is who he is. And they really loved it. And it's a fucking epic. I mean, granted, we didn't watch all 3 hours of it in one sitting, but when my kid is now requesting like cowboys, he wants to watch Westerns. He wants to, watch these Sergio Leone films. I think it's pretty cool.
Which I can't wait for that to come back in the modern sense. Because if I remember correctly, the golden age of Westerns was like 10 years prior. And the Italians, they were trying to make, that was basically the RoboCop of Westerns. When you watch,
really?
When you watch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it was a satire. They were making fun of a lot of the Western tropes because the genre had been kind of played out. It's like cape slop right now. Nobody likes Marvel things anymore. And so he kind of came out with the satire of it. But the thing is, and it's what I was talking about before with, are you satirizing something you love, but it's so on point? It's exactly that. You can tell they love Westerns. And then because they're Italian, they obviously give you the leitmotifs where it's like an Italian opera. Each buddy has their tune that follows them on, keeps the emotional threads in play. But just like at the end, perfect example why it's a satire. You see the big shootout, all three of them, who's going to win? And you're used to like somebody's going to pull a gun, shoot somebody. And the goal's in the middle there. But what happened? Eastwood emptied the gun of Tuco. So he couldn't shoot anybody. So he knew, I just have to shoot him. And Angel Eyes is like, oh, which one's going to shoot? So he gets distracted. So he kind of rigged the game anyway. So it wasn't even a real shootout. Mm-hmm. And it's little stuff. And you probably never thought of that when you were watching it. I never thought of it.
Well, here's the thing too. Like throughout the whole movie, my kids, my son kept asking, is that the good guy? Is that the good guy? Is that the good guy? And obviously Blondie's supposed to be the good, but he crosses Tuco a number of times in the movie.
All the times.
And it's tough to explain to my kids, like they're all kind of bad guys, they're all kind of bad. And I mean, Tuco, that Eli Wallach, man, so good in that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What a great,
and he's likable. Like even when you hate him, you're like, he kind of, and when he gets strung up and he's like, you son of a bitch. Like you can't help but like him. Even though he's technically a bad guy, he's a good guy. And you're right, too. Same thing, Eastwood. He does some real bad stuff, but you're kind of meant to portray, he's the protagonist, so you latch onto him. Yeah. I mean, Angel Eyes is kind of pretty evil, but that torture scene kind of cements that. But they're torturing Tuco, too, right? He's supposed to be the bad guy. Why are you rooting for? But yeah, the whole thing, I just love stuff like that. It's really good. It's storytelling,
Yeah.
And I never understood how important that was until I was 23 and joined the military, because I had to sail like 190 days out of the year. So it was very hard to like date. It's gonna sound weird, but like, hey, we had a nice time. Loved this dinner. I have to go sailing now. Can I see you again in 3 months? And they'd be like, no. So I'm like, either I got to learn how to speed up this process, or I better get used to my hand. And so I ended up finding the old. You remember Mystery? Back in the 2000s, the pickup artist guy.
Oh, that guy, yeah,
Yeah.
with the silly hat.
Yeah, so at the time, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, whatever. I grabbed the Annihilation DVDs and then, went through his whole thing, the pickup artist stuff. I was having a blast. It was like gamifying dating. It was no longer frustrating. It was no longer trying to get somewhere that wasn't going. It was just making me have fun with the experience. And I remember the big thing from it was the stories. They called them canned scripts, but you're essentially telling a story to a girl, but you're doing it with purpose, the same as a book does, same as a movie does. And then you got to see, it's like, oh, so you can slip like little things that show you're a cool guy, you have nice friends, you have cool hobbies and stuff like that, but you don't just tell them like it's a resume. You slip it into the story. Same way as Dean slipped in, just so you know, I'm a trickster and I've got this whole thing planned out and I'll sit back and enjoy the tits. And then I realized, yeah, it's not just I like watching movies, I like paying a couple bucks for this, I like reading a book. No, it's like literally the world, people move based on the stories. And the ones that are more compelling get people to do stuff. Even politics. Like, look at Trump. That getting shot in the head thing, to come up with the fist bump. Dude, that's the best wrestling promo I've ever seen. And it won him an election, I think.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Even if you don't like him, you got to admit, Biden couldn't do that. Biden fell off his bike. Come on, man. Step it up.
One thing, though, I would recommend, guys, if you're looking to date, try not to get assassinated. Like, it's probably not the best move. I haven't met Mystery, but
high risk, high reward.
Yeah, getting shot at. Last night, I watched a movie, and here's the thing too. Like, I think why I like older movies, from the 70s and 80s and even 90s. I just like the way they look. Like, they just look better. And now, thankfully with, technology, anybody can shoot anything. And, one of the battles that I've noticed, and I talk about this quite a bit with my friend Greg, who I collaborate with a lot. He directs and edits a lot of the videos, is, you have all of these films that either they're features or shorts where they look great. And there's really no excuse now why something can't look great, but the writing sucks, and who cares? But yeah, the look of like the 80s, in particular for me, the 70s and 80s in particular for me, it was really
like. You mean like as the film stock, the style they had, like what was it called, Kodachrome or whatever? Or are you talking just about the way they filmed it?
And the way that they filmed it too. And I think you talk about this too, like with the competency, just competent, filmmakers, the way things are framed, the way things, the way things are cut. It just comes across like much better. So
details.
Anyway, yeah. So last night I watched, for the first time, I'd never seen this movie before. It's from '83, The Big Chill. The Big Chill.
Oh,
I had never seen
you
it.
Going.
I know.
Yeah, the boomer angst.
Yeah. So my wife and my kids are away for a couple of days at a friend's beach house. So I'm alone, and I'm the type of dad who, like, as much as I want to have some time alone, anytime I do get time alone, I immediately regret it, and I'm like, oh, I miss my kids. I miss that there's no noise happening in the house, and so I have the great idea of, why don't I watch this movie about a group of friends who get back together because one of their friends killed himself. So let me go watch this movie alone in my house as I wait for my family to come back to me. But I'm happy to say that I was preparing myself for a really sad movie, but I didn't get that. Instead, I got what I thought was a really well done movie that is moving, funny. And then also, it's sort of it kind of predates, I think, a lot of the I don't know. It seems like a lot of the people my age, like the way they treat relationships now, it kind of has like a similar thing. It's like, but this was 40 years ago. It was kind of predicting the way people view marriage and relationships and that sort of thing. Well,
because it's details. I know I'm stuttering here, but it's it's hard to just articulate it to one thing. Like, yes, one thing is the film stock, and it's not that it looks different, but it does. You have your blacks are blacks, your whites are whites. It's that mistakes cost more. Like with it, you get with those Astra cameras or the Black Magics, you can take 500 takes, doesn't really matter. You'll fix it in post, doesn't matter. But if you're filming on film stock and you're out in the jungle filming Jumanji or whatever the hell you're doing, yeah, if we screw up this take and we're on our last can, well, then filming's done for the day. That cost $1 million. That's why you get things like Spielberg. He was I'd say he's probably the best director, at least as far as making money goes. And if you ever watch his behind the scenes stuffs, he storyboards the entire movie. So if you look, he's got a giant wall, start to finish, every shot in the movie. He draws it out because the drawing is cheap, but the filming is expensive. He draws it out. He puts the stuff up there. Everybody on the crew that's working with him, they all get to look at it. If he makes a mistake, somebody's like, oh, by the way, this might be better panning out than pulling in because I don't know if you know this, but like when you're editing, every type of shot communicates something about the shot. So like even if you just switch to a jump cut, which is just this shot and then that shot, it's meant to jar you. So it's like it grabs your attention, the same as like clapping your hands in somebody's face. So if there's a scene where you want somebody to kind of get lulled into like a nice calm thing and then snap right into something good, you'd use a jump cut. But he has to think about all of this stuff before he films anything. And then everybody gets to look at it and see, like, do they agree? Do they disagree? If they disagree, they've got a good reason for it. If he likes their idea, he'll go with it. If he's not, because of these costs, it actually allows people to be more creative professionally. And I know I'm rambling here, so cut me off.
No, go for it.
When I first went to university before the military, I was in there for fine arts and art history. My teacher showed me this, never forgot this mistake, or never forgot this lesson again. It was a painting class. He's like, I want everybody to paint me a picture. And we sat there for probably 4 hours of lab. We sat there for like half an hour, and everybody just stared at their canvas. No idea what to do. And eventually everybody figured it out. And what happened? The girls all painted horses. The guys all painted cars. And one guy had a giant eyeball. It was like fucking embarrassing. But the next day, he's like, all right, I want you guys to do an impressionist painting based on a landscape over here. And he gave you all these constrictions, things you couldn't do. And then all of a sudden, within 5 minutes, people were already having their sketches out. They were doing it. And you had a larger variety. Even though it was like all impressionist landscaping, everybody had a different variety of what they did, how they did it, how they chose to do it. And I find it's the problem with modern anything creative is that there's no restriction. We have no way to confine the mind because that creates problems. And solving problems is the things that make stories good. Like how many... There's a good movie example of that one too, where like Alien. Remember the first Alien? 1979, they made the prosthetic alien and like it looks kind of jank and it's kind of goofy and nobody's going to buy this. So like, all right, how do we fix this? All right, we're going to film it in like super dark areas, make everything really wet so it kind of hides that. And then end up making it one of the best sci-fi horrors out there because they literally couldn't make a good enough looking alien. But now it's you set up your CGI hardware, you can make the perfect alien. What are you going to get? You get some weird convoluted mess, some Messiah complex. Whatever. I'm just going to rant about aliens. I'm like, that's not the point of this thing.
Well, with when I was watching The Big Chill, one of the things that struck me was something I remember Quentin Tarantino was talking about, how I think it's his contention that movies are still better than TV, even though for the past however many years we've it's like it was the golden age of television, where it was like The Sopranos, Deadwood.
Is this the one where they basically become soap operas and movies have a defined start and finish?
Exactly. And when I was watching The Big Chill, I'm watching this and I'm like, I can't believe. In a way, I was like, I can't believe this is a movie, because this has all of the elements of being a soap opera, of being a show. Like, there's easily 5 seasons there of following this group of friends, their relationships with each other, the relationships outside. There's the whole mystery too of why did their friend kill himself? Who this guy is. We never see who he is, but we never see his face. We have this really great opening where they're dressing the body. And it's like, were someone to do The Big Chill today, I think they'd be looking at it as, okay, how do we serialize this?
Yeah. Oh yeah, how do you make the maximum amount of money? What are the new shows, the Netflix ones, where they take, or even I guess The Hobbit would be the best place to start with that. It's a single book. it's a single movie, and they had to stretch it out to 3 because you could make more money that way. It's this whole culture now we have of just how much of your time can I waste, and it's everywhere. Apps, Twitter is designed to suck as much of your attention as possible. TikTok too.
Right.
They're all designed for that. Books are designed for that. I'm tired of this. When I wrote these books, I literally said I thought I had ADHD and I couldn't read. I'm like, I can't read anything now. And then my buddy, my editor, Nick, awesome guy, by the way, he sent me an Oliver Lange book called Defiance, which is, remember Red Dawn?
Yeah.
They based that movie off of this book. So bad that he had to sue them. Anyways, I read it. I'm like, I read it start to finish. I was like, oh, so I can read books. It's
Right.
just, and I realized it's that they're wasting your time. And there's so many ways they do that. Sometimes the guy is like, I'm super smart and I built this crazy, awesome medieval fantasy world. And then they spend 300 pages telling you about, oh, and then the tax policy is this. And there's going to be a test at the end. And you're realizing, like, my mental stack is just overloaded. Here's all the details you need. You need these. And now I'm trying to read the story. Meanwhile, I got this big stack of crap in my head. And movies do this too. You have all this stuff you have to think about, and then you're ignoring all of this stuff. And then what would the solution be? Well, stop giving me 2 hours of exposition. Stop reading, like, instead of me reading a book, it's me reading somebody telling me a book, or me watching somebody tell me about a movie. Instead of doing that, just simplify it and stop telling me everything. Let me figure it out on my own so I can have a part in this. I'd rather just jangle keys in front of your head, make it all look very pretty so you don't have to worry about it, which is like lazy. It's lazy and it's annoying. And that's ultimately why I figured out why you and me would rather watch The Big Chill or Rolling Thunder or Dirty Harry than the brand new $1 billion Lord of the Rings remake or the Superman movie or whatever. And that's what sucks, because you're saying Naked Gun is awesome, and I'm gonna have to believe you now because nobody would lie about that. That it's awesome. And the guys who do make good stuff now have that whole thing that everybody around them is making slop. And you're like, no, I promise, guys, this one's not slop. Yeah. And nobody believes them, and nobody should, because there's been no examples of it. So it just sucks the most for those people that worked on that film. Like, no, we did it. And nobody believes them. Yeah. But they should.
And, going through the video essays that you have, I saw one actor in particular pop up a number of times, Tom Berenger. And Tom Berenger is in The Big Chill, and watching him in The Big Chill, I just realized how great of an actor he is, because in The Big Chill, he's like a normal guy. He plays a guy who's kind of like a TV star, but normal guy, not intimidating at all. And then you watch him in Platoon, and you're like, this is the scariest fucking guy you'll ever meet in your life. And then you watch him in
Sniper or The Substitute,
Major League. He comes off as like a veteran catcher in baseball. And then
the burned out catcher.
Yeah, The Substitute, et cetera. And it's like, holy shit, the range that this guy has. And I'm like, and here I am, like, having these arguments, how many fucking years after his career is, basically, I don't know what he's been in lately. But here I am making the argument, God damn it, he's a great actor. Why does anyone talk about him anymore?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's as a kid, because I watched him first as a kid. So I only ever knew him through The Substitute, right. Sniper especially. I remember Sniper was the big one. And then when you grow up and you realize he did all these other things, he was actually in Dream On as a character in that one too. Oh, wow. Yeah, it was originally going to be my gimmick, but it's harder than it looks. Where you find anybody who's been an extra on Dream On, it's like the Seinfeld girls. What are they up to now? To have everything kind of lead back to Dream On, make Brian Ben like the Hollywood Jesus or something like that. It's hard.
Mm-hmm. Well, with your sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna rant then about Spaced Out, which is the other one, which I love, but I don't know if you watched that one. That's the British comedy sexploitation. No. Like, you can tell Austin Powers, that movie was influenced by British shows like this. And it's just it's a sexploitation comedy. Science fiction it's about guys get kidnapped by these aliens who find out the one is the greatest specimen in the universe, and there's a lot of like goofy sex scenes and like Red Dwarf, all that kind of British sci-fi stuff to it. Super funny. But then you find out that the main chick in there was also the chick in Commando when he was killing the Green Beret in the hotel room and they crash through the room and there's two people having sex right there.
Oh,
that
shit.
chick was the chick from this one. And so I always love, and it's something my mom and I used to do when I was a kid. And she would always, oh, this guy was in this one here and this one here, and it'd be the most obscure references. And that's something else I noticed that we don't get to do much with movies anyway, because nobody wants to take a risk on people. Like the journeyman actor is kind of dying off too. And I get it. If you're spending $1 billion in a franchise, you want Chris Pratt, you want Ryan Reynolds, and you want Sam Jackson and The Rock. If you don't put those four guys in, like, don't even talk to me. So they can't hire these guys that was maybe an extra in 15 different movies. And it turns out he's got amazing range.
Meanwhile, I mean, it's something where, Tarantino doesn't, unfortunately, he doesn't make enough films where, I mean.
Well, wasn't his goal to only make, was it 13, I think was his total 10. That he ever, 10?
I think it's 10. But, he's a guy who, will find an older actor who is in like obscure kind of like B movies and then put him in a role because he knows he's writing a role either specifically for him or knowing that he will do, an exceptional job. Talking about like the, actors showing up in all these like, small roles. My dad, he's from Argentina. He's about, how old is my dad? He's got, his birthday's coming up. He's going to be 76. Yeah, he's going to be 76.
Congrats to him.
Yeah. So just that age, he's obviously of a different generation. But then if you look at Argentina back then, it's like a different age on top of a different age. I mean, my dad was he was selling like seltzer water via a horse-drawn carriage and stuff. And he said when they used to go see movies, they'd be like, wait a minute, how's that actor in this new movie? He died in the other one. It was
oh, the wrestling isn't real stuff. Yeah.
There was this like, no, he got killed in that movie. How can he be in this other one? Which is a really cute, like kind of primitive, way of looking at movies. Like movie magic in a way.
Yeah. Oh, the kayfabe stuff.
Yeah.
That's a whole other reference too. Because when you think about it, that's what Hollywood actors used to be before social media. They weren't people. They were avatars. They were characters. And now it's strange in that I get to find out what Sydney Sweeney is mid. It kind of it removes the kayfabe, which I think was a good element of it too. If you don't know what kayfabe is, that's like a wrestling term where it's theatrics but treated as real. So when you see them as actors, you don't want to see Tom Cruise as the progressive woke liberal or as the Trump supporting right wing fascist or whatever you want to call it. I'm just using examples. I don't know who's what. But once you start humanizing him to that level, then you're going to get half the people trying to tear him down, half the people kind of build him up. Now it becomes a business decision. Well, this guy's politics don't mix with this movie's thing. And we never used to have any of that. It used to be just like this character was an actor. And if you saw him in real life, you were awe-stricken. Because like you said, he died. I thought he died. Or your mom, I bet you anything, she was of the generation of the chicks that hated actual actors that were in soap operas if they were the bad guy. I guarantee it.
My mom was like that. I'm gonna say, Mom, who's on your death list?
Oh, dude. Yeah, they would watch Bold and the Beautiful or Young and the Restless every week, and then the one guy would always do something bad, and they literally hated him. And you hear actors now who used to be in the soaps talking about back in the 80s. Yeah, we had to be careful because like old ladies would start just bitching me out when I'm grocery shopping. But that's like a magic, and yeah, we can laugh at it being kind of quaint and pagan or pedestrian or whatever you want to call it. But you got to admit, people cared.
Yeah.
And then the people that made it kind of treated that with reverence. So they cared, and then everybody cared, and then everything was just better. And now we end up having to look like nostalgic boomers like, I prefer to watch The Big Chill.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, he just hates new things, Grandpa. And you're like, fuck, that's not it.
well, sometimes, I'm very much about, separating the art from the artist. And, I have to run that test on myself. You'd be like, wait a minute, do I really believe that? And the evidence that I do believe that is, I think Robert De Niro has become kind of ridiculous as a public figure.
Yeah.
But when I watch The Deer Hunter, when I watch Heat, all I see is De Niro's performance there. That's all I care about.
Dude, have you read my Substack? Because I just put that out too.
Oh, did
you? Where Weinstein turned us into like a people-pleasing society. The case was the separating the art from the artist? Can you watch the Cosby Show? And for the most part, people said no. Well, women for the most part said no. And then that's the problem now, is everything is about pandering. And then who do you pander to? You pander to who pays money. And if you go look through MasterCard reports, they always have annual reports on consumer spending. 85% of every dollar spent is from women. And it's not saying they earn that much, but that's the spending choices. And
Yeah,
that's why you see
my credit card balance, and I'm like,
Yeah.
seems about right.
But then everything kind of makes sense. Like, why is Gillette putting a "Boys Will Be Boys, We Hate Men" ad for men's razors? It's because men aren't buying Gillette; their wives are buying it. And you realize for all of this stuff, it's just pandering, because pandering works, and everybody decided not to separate art from artist, so they have to be pandered to.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I still like all the old, was it Miramax films? Even though I'm pretty sure now when I look at them, I'm like, did Weinstein sleep with her? Probably. But I'm like, yeah, but Pulp Fiction really slapped.
Yeah. Oh no, Pulp Fiction is great. Yeah.
But you're like that, and I'm like that. Most people aren't like that, or at least not enough of a monetizable marketer like that to where it's now a viable strategy to separate it. People just don't. And again, it's one of those, everything takes apart everything. It's all little things.
I have a bit where I talk about, on stage, I say, if you look at my my acting resume, you're like, man, that guy sucked all the wrong dicks in Hollywood. And I'm like, yeah, like, apparently, I'm not Harvey Weinstein's type, because I'm a dude and I know how to keep my mouth shut. I know how to keep the secret. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because you've written 2 books. Once again, it's Softbone and Dog Walker. So one of the things that I've been trying to do is develop IP, intellectual property. And I talked to a friend of mine. I wanted to develop a movie with her, and she likes the idea. She thinks it's really great. She's like, but instead of, I was like, oh, it could probably be work as a novel, and then we could turn it into a screenplay. And she said, well, if that's the case, then really what you should do is just write a short story, so you have that IP, you have ownership of it, and then you could eventually develop that into a screenplay if you so choose, or if you could sell it, or
that's interesting,
or whatnot. Yeah, and there's this whole other part of writing in the arts where you need to think, you need to strategize, not only.
It is a business after all.
Yeah, exactly. It's a business. What makes financial sense, and also what is doable too. Because I'm like, like if I wrote, say I took however long to write a whole novel, and it doesn't sell that much. Meanwhile, I could have just written maybe the short story, and then possibly get a script out of that. So
well, what I've seen on that? That doesn't matter. At least not what I've seen. Looking at it, like Hillary Clinton has sold more books than I ever will. Didn't even write her own book. Books are marketing. There are a lot of books that are really well written. Like some of the authors that are in my little niche that I love. Delicious Tacos is one he wrote, and now For Some Good News. And it's a story about like a guy who's down on his luck, can't get laid, falls into the apocalypse in LA. It's a very funny story. It's super well written, but because he's not a known name, he will never outsell a Colleen Hoover, who arguably flat. I'm not even saying this because I like him and I don't like her. She's okay, but she's not a great writer compared to him. But that doesn't matter because everybody knows who she is. And it's like the first rule, like the hardest part of writing a book is getting people to learn your fucking name. Flat out. Yeah. The IP thing, I actually I kind of enjoy the idea of starting with the short story. Because at the very least, your first idea needs to get fleshed out. But I mean, you could also do that as a book. But then if you're doing it as a business, you're marketing yourself.
Yeah.
And you're marketing yourself. And then the first generation of people who buy your book or your short story or whatever will like you. So they buy the book. And then that gets them in the door. If they like the book, then they start to talk to other people about the book. You'll know you've hit a banger if people start doing free marketing for you. Like another author, I really love him. Devin Erickson just wrote Theft of Fire.
Devin. Yeah, he's been a guest.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've known him from way back, but it's so good to see him do well. But that's what happened with him. He had a book, well-written book, kind of not known, but the people like me first read the book. We thought it was great. And then all of a sudden people are starting to tweet it and they're retweeting it. Somebody nominated him for this a science fiction award, which that's probably, I would kill for one of those moments.
And then they ended up removing him from,
because he has
from running because he
was it his politics or was it his relationships?
I think it's 100% because of his politics. Yeah.
All right. And they're like, we don't like this. And his answer was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. Somebody nominated from this for me. So I wish you guys the best, but kindly fuck off.
Yeah. And Devin's a guy where I heard about him because I started following him on Twitter or X, where I was like, wow, this guy's really funny and insightful. And he's, I like people who are able to express a lot of my beliefs in better than I can. And I'm like, oh, wow, he's saying what I wish I was able to say so eloquently. And then from there, I found out, oh, he also writes sci-fi. Oh, here you go. So with your with your books, what's where can people find them, and what are what was the process like? What came first, Softbone or Dogwalker?
Dogwalker came first, but I've written both of them this year. Turns out if you really get a system down, it's pretty straightforward, like 3-4 months. But originally it was Dogwalker. Now that one was, I've been doing nonfiction for a while, like I said, but I've kind of said everything I need to say, so I don't want to be that guy that sticks with his gimmick well past its expiry date. This one was meant to be contemporary fiction. I saw somebody, you've seen rants about how men don't read fiction anymore. Men don't read contemporary fiction.
That was a recent rant, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think that's bullshit. I think it's just like me, because I can't read modern stuff because it's crap for the same reasons we've been talking about here. So I took the premise of a promise keeper, which it's an old, like a red-pilled concept, actually, of a guy who is raised in a house where his mom shits on his dad constantly. Oh, I hate your dad, this. And it's just his mom complaining.
Not in the way you're going to shit on my chest. A different.
Exactly. No, it's more just complaining.
Got it.
But as a kid, you don't know what a woman blowing off steam is like. So you start to hate him. And you're like, I never want to treat a woman the way my dad treats my mom. I never want to have her be like that. Not realizing that a lot of the times her complaining is because she's in love with him, but she's just frustrated. And so it causes him to sabotage a lot of his relationships. He creates he's very anal about, I need to be this kind of person, do this kind of thing, to the point that he kind of develops a bit of a split personality. And then the whole period of the book is just him turning from a promise keeper into a well-adjusted man in a healthy relationship. It's just, that's it. Slice of life. There's nothing fantastical. There's no magic. There's no, all the stuff that, guys don't care unless there's lasers. I'm like, no, it's just that. It's well written. It's a character study. And then I put that one out there. And then first thing everybody says about it is like, I didn't think you could write this, which I get what they mean because I'm a bit of an asshole and I'm crude. But yeah, and then they just started loving it. And then I thought it was kind of same as you as a business. Well, this is great, but it's the big chill. It's self-contained. It's there and it's done. With Softbone, I'm like, I've always loved cyberpunk. I think it's a wonderful genre. I think it's underdeveloped. I think it could be so much more. Blade Runner was awesome. A cyberpunk thriller, one of my favorite CD-ROM games of the 90s. You even had D&D stuff with Shadowrun. Everything about the genre is great. High tech, low life, and we're in a totally bizarre realm now. And this was right around COVID time, when I'm like, why don't I just do a RoboCop satirical take on this stuff? But then that's not a story. That's just things that, like you said, tell me my beliefs in a more eloquent way that can entertain me. So then in that one, I kind of had the same thing, similar themes. A lot of these ones are about guys finding their way. In this one, it's a guy who was browbeaten by his wife, learning to be free, but then learning that there's consequences to freedom and how to live through that. But then, first thing you start off, there's the group called FemLaw, which Amazon has hired in order to police anything masculine. Things like coffee and alcohol and stimulants like nicotine. They're all illegal. But things like Xanax and Adderall and all the female type drugs, those are the ones that they just give out for free so you can get through the workday. And I just kind of played with that. There's a fake virus that goes out and then the vaccine ends up killing a bunch of people. And it's all these things that entertain you. But at the same time, there's IP there. If I was talented in what you do, finding people to work on cool things, it could be working there. And I agree. You have to kind of think of it that way. But at the same time, you always have to go back to, this needs to be a good story. Because, yeah, it may sell or not based on my branding. But if it's not any good, then I'm part of the problem. And I just couldn't live with myself that way.
Yeah.
And so same thing here. You just stick to my characters need to have an arc. My characters need to develop and grow and learn. Even if you don't agree with it, you have to understand it. The plot needs to make sense. Things have to have consistency. They have to have good verisimilitude. Like there needs to be an internal logic to it. And don't waste anybody's time. So like if it's not a detail you need, I don't tell you. Because I'm like, you're not an idiot. When you're reading a book, I don't need to tell you what color is everybody's hair, unless it's thematically relevant. You'll picture a hair color in your head. I'll tell you they're in a kitchen because they're doing something in a kitchen. I'm not describing the countertops. You know what the fucking kitchen looks like. I think the only thing in his house I even described was like a teapot that makes sugar-free Xanax, grape flavor, and an Eames chair. And only because the Eames chair was his the only thing that he decided to buy in the house that his wife didn't approve of. And then she just throws all of her dirty laundry on top of it, which, credits my old lady there for teaching me that one. But I'm like, how perfect is that as a metaphor? A guy who's basically browbeaten by his wife, and then he has his one free to choose thing, and she just dumps her laundry on top of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the process like that is just that. You start with the premise, you kind of look, what do your characters want to accomplish? Like, what am I trying to say? And then you layer a plot on top of that. That's where all your cool shit goes. And then you think, well, this character arc is this character arc is that. If they're meeting together, how do those characters interact? It's kind of like The Big Chill. You were talking about it perfectly. You put the movie star who's kind of doing this, and then you put, I can't remember what the other guy's name is. He was the guy from Fish Called Wanda, I think, though.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Kline, who's excellent.
Thank you.
He's such a great actor. Yeah.
And it's been a while since I've watched it, but you put, like, how does his character react to stuff, and how does his character react? Then you put him in a scene that's there to help move the plot forward, and then the way they interact will show how those things work. And then in that, you kind of discover, oh, there's something I didn't even know. Yeah. And then you kind of, as you write, you're teaching yourself about the world you're creating. I love that shit. I fucking love it.
Yeah. Back in, when I graduated college, and I just started grad school. I went and got an MFA at City College in New York. And my
Master Fine Arts. Get it now.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that acronym everywhere, and I'm like, what the fuck is an MFA? But I don't want to ask because it'll out me as being like
not to brag, man. Not to brag. not to K-fab you, but
you let me sit there talking about my bachelor's of art history, and you're like, yeah, just let him enjoy his moment, you fucker.
Oh, it's not that big of a it ain't a big deal at all. But so when I had started going for for a master's in creative writing, at the time I had like a full-time job, and it only lasted a few months, writing erotic fiction. That was my so I went into like an office in Lower Manhattan and wrote smut for my work day. And a number of like I said, it only lasted like a few months, but a lot of like kind of that kind of storytelling the idea behind that storytelling, at least when you're writing smut, is you want to turn on the reader. You want the reader to get off, right? And I was sort of like taking that and doing comedy at the same time. It's like, well, in comedy, I want to elicit laughter. It's all about creating an experience and creating and
eliciting an emotional response.
Exactly. And I mean, this is so many years ago, but I remember I would do like these monologues at some of these like events that were like like porno, but they were funny too, right?
Yeah.
And one woman who had come to the to one of the shows, she was like, "Oh my God, Lou, like I can't imagine what you would do with a book, to do this like as a book." And I'm sort of getting to the point where I'm like, what would I do a book of, my version of erotica, And actually I had my wife said, she's like one day she just kind of came out with him. She's like, you would write a friggin' really great, like erotic novel. And I'm like, wow, it's so funny because that's what I've been thinking. And now I'm kind of looking at it. It's like, well, if I'm going to spend time on something, I want it to be something that I think I would have a lot of fun with. And that could potentially, people would read and be like, okay, there are still elements of like the Lou Perez, whose comedy I enjoy, and who's writing I enjoy. Maybe possibly bring it together.
I mean, it's easy to add levity to things, right? So humor is a wonderful emotion that way. You can mix it with everything.
Yeah,
I think horror is the only one that's difficult to pull off, but even then, it's doable.
Yeah. So for the viewers and the listeners out there, stick around because Lou might be getting you off in a different way.
Do you know? Oh, dude, I don't know if you know who this guy is. Edward Teach. I don't know if you've heard of him. You've heard of, I don't know. He was like one of the more popular bloggers out of the 2000s, the last psychiatrist. Huge back then. This is back during like the Tucker Max days, Mike Cernovich, when he was first getting started. He wrote a book called Sadly Porn, which didn't do well, but that's mostly because of the marketing. It's a really well-written book. And I laugh at that, your erotic story, because when he first starts, it's like a very cultural critique of stuff, which is tendently what he does. But he does it in a way that like you really have to follow because he's moving fast. And then in chapter 2, he sneaks in a cuck porn. And I didn't even notice until like once the guy's fucking buddy's wife. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And I was like enthralled. I'm reading this whole thing. I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, you made me read cuck porn, you son of a bitch. So again, I don't think it's one of those, like a lot of people say it's, it's masculine or it's feminine or women will read this and guys don't. It really is a case if it's well enough written, even if I don't agree with the subject matter, I'll probably end up enjoying it.
Yeah.
Even well written things I would love to hate. I hate this thing. Like, but then you have like 18 reasons why because it was well done.
Yeah,
I think it's one of those things. It's like you're saying, like your book, you probably will write a really good book, but most people don't want to write books. Most people want to be authors. They want to sit down at dinner parties and talk about this. But they don't actually think of structure or the details of character, and they want to show off how good of a writer they are, as opposed to looking at it from the reader's perspective, where I want to sit down for 8 hours and be entertained with something. You know what I mean?
One thing that I've talked about before is I've gotten over that whole MFA, creative writing, literary fiction.
I mean, you're a comic. I guess you'd have to.
Exactly. I got over that.
Yeah, if they don't laugh, you're done.
Exactly. And it was I'm very happy that I got my MFA, especially when and where I did. I think it benefited me, greatly. But it was one of those things where it's like I want people reading my stuff and enjoying my stuff. And I'm not looking to be esoteric. I'm not looking to be, I want to be, I want to be successful. And we all have different measurements of, what success means. And it's like, go for it. It's like, tell your story in any way that you can,
I think the best compliment I ever got, and it's one of those ones I search for it. It's when somebody comes and tells you, like, I didn't sleep last night because I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever wanted, where he doesn't want to. Because that's like, I guess it's because the wasting the time thing. It really bothers me when people draw things out and waste your time. So when somebody says that to the point that, like, I chose to finish this as opposed to anything else I could be doing, especially now. You know how hard it is to, like, here, read for 6 hours. Everybody's like, fuck no, I got TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
I got a new Bill Burr special. I don't got time for this shit. And you're like, yeah, that's a hard... It would have been easier in the 1800s when you only had to compete with like shoveling shit.
Yeah, it's there's a book by Tim O'Brien called July, and I've read it at least twice, and the 2 times that I read it, it was the same experience where I was like, oh fuck, I have 60 pages left, and I'm a slow reader, and I'm like, and I'm gonna have to stay up to finish these 60 pages because I absolutely love the writing. So.
Yeah. As opposed to those ones where your mind wanders, you kind of skip a paragraph, you skip another, you realize you're not really lost. I think that's like the best writing advice I ever got. And you have an MFA, so you probably heard this too, where if somebody can skip a line and not get lost in your story, then it probably doesn't need to be there.
That's a really great way. I haven't heard it put that way, but that's a really great way to put it.
Yeah. And it made perfect sense to me, because then I realized, like, oh, what happens now if I do this? I've only got a third of a book. It's like, well, there's your problem. You don't have a book yet. You have a third of a book and you're dragging it out.
Yeah. Have a novella. Shit. Have a tiny little book. Yeah.
Well, that's how like most of the guys got started. They would write, like you said, short stories, and they would ship them out to every little anthology out there. And there's a bunch that we have now for all these people saying men don't read. If you go in the underground, we got a very like 80s subculture now, like Double Dealer magazine. I don't know if you ever heard of these guys.
No, let me make a note of that. Double Dealer.
Yeah, they're kind of like Marlboro Man themed, and it's just collections of short stories from authors. they have like it's like mostly marketing because I mean, it's books. You can't pay a fortune for articles, but people will give you their short stories. And there's this other guy on Twitter, Raw Egg Nationalist. He has one too. I can't remember what it's called. Nick, my editor, he used to have one called Punch Riot. I think Ernest Graff, he's another kind of underground writer. He has one too. But a lot of these guys have them. They all want to make their new 80s rag, like their ad busters or their cracked magazine or their short story anthologies. And so they're all out there. Yeah. And the beauty of it is, as a short story, you have to have them want to put their brand on it, which means it can't just be, I think it's great. Somebody else has to agree with you. So it adds that level of feedback.
Right on. Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's too, like this, the one thing I do not like about self-publishing is that the only way I know if they're written any good is if people buy them. And then people have to tell me. But that's like a very, very long stretch between work and feedback. So I could make a huge mistake and not know for months.
Yeah. Well, and we could probably leave on this. I would say that, for those of you out there who are, audience members, readers, if you enjoy what you're reading, let the artist know. If you enjoy Ryan's work, let him know. If you enjoy my work, let us know. Of course, money's great. But
I'll take it.
But in addition to that, because I think sometimes, sometimes you'll have those days you're like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? And then, a message will come in. You're like, oh, very cool. That perked me up and gave me a little bit of, a little bit of fire for, to go through the
Or
day.
even articulate why you hate it. That's the hardest one to find. Somebody who hates your work but doesn't just call you a cuck. It's impossible.
That's the challenge. You heard it here first.